first graders get past the the line staff, they go to the 5-line staff. And so I just made it a little smaller. This is a wonderful self-assessment. This is using tabs. They need to circle the TTs. So they would take a pen and circle the TTs. And let's make a mistake too. They would take this tab, and the tab will reveal the correct answers. Notice that this tab right over here is not revealing that. The tabs are wonderful. To make this lesson, you need to start with one of the tabs. So I would type in tab, bring the tab over, put the tab over to the side. I need the words to go away. This is the one complaint I have, is I have the hardest time getting the cursor to show up so that I can get rid of, even when I'm hitting delete right now, I can't get rid of these words. There's always that issue. I just have to be patient. There we go. And then it comes up, and there is an issue with this. I'm hoping that's something they'll fix in some sort of update. Unfortunately, if I don't put text in, it automatically puts text back in, so a lot of my exercises have this just little period sitting there. The notes, again, I just pulled them right over here and just stuck them right in, making it very simple. TTs are always on the end. Now, if I pull the tab out, all of these will show up. So I need them to go somewhere else. I need this to order to the back, and I need this one to order to the back. Once I do that, now only the 8th notes will show up. You could do the exercise just like that. I'm just so obsessive compulsive, and I admit it, that I actually grouped a circle around it so that because it said circle the TTs, so that it would come up as circles. That's just me. You don't need to go into all of that obsessive compulsiveness. But that's just a first grade lesson that I use. Let me show you some other lessons that I use. The balloon launch. Oh my goodness. You can use koosh balls on these. Yes, I'm serious. You can use koosh balls, throw them right at the board, and they pop the balloons. And then my students, my third graders, have to play these recorder patterns. The question came up earlier is, how do you get that recorder pattern? Well, the balloons are there. If you go and search the gallery for balloons, you will find these interactive balloons. Remember, they're in the interactive multimedia. And you just click and drag them there, and they change colors each time. To edit that, you can put in text. I didn't need any text, so I got rid of the text. And then when you pop the balloon, whatever's behind it appears. So these are just graphics. How did I make these graphics? I made these in Finale. If I wanted to go on, this next exercise has hot cross buns in it. So these are playing patterns found in hot cross buns. So it's a great way to assess your students' reading and performance. Fun game. I will say this, when I did this with a 2-day workshop with teachers, some of the teachers found it frustrating to use the balloons. So I'll show you in a few minutes a different one you can use that's a little bit easier. Multiple choice. You know it's not a good sign if this little guy just stops moving. Okay. Now, what are the names of these notes? So those are TTs. If they're wrong, they'll get self-assessed here. All right. Click Finish. Rating, good effort. Good effort there. Now, to do this one, all I have to do is find the multiple choice. It's here again in the lesson activity toolkit. That's where most of the balloons, all of these ones that are interactive, are in that toolkit. And you click Edit, and then you can write in the names and the answers and tell the answer, the question, and the answers. Now, you'll see I only have one question, and I have a bunch of slides with different questions, just because I was using graphics. If you're just using words, you can put all of this on one slide, up to 10 questions. But because I was using graphics, the TTs, this one's a ta, I had to switch it to one slide per question. So that's a nice game, but I love the self-assessment on that. If you are doing stations, and Smartboard is one of your stations, this can be up there doing a self-assessment for the kids, and you can come back later and just look at what they did. Note reveal. This is so simple. I can't even tell you. Press a number, clap the name, write the rhythm of the name. So you press a number, Mrs. Burns. I would tell them to clap it, Mrs. Burns, and then I would write in with the pen the rhythm. I would not actually have the answers up here because sometimes the students, let me give you an example, clap it a certain way. Currently, right now, my whole second grade are writing their names. This was just last week. So, and we just did this whole unit on steady beat. So you can tell they got the steady beat because they're only clapping in quarter notes. I can't get them actually to give me any eighth notes, but we're all writing how the class claps it. Now, that's 2R. We're not done with this, obviously. It's only 4 students so far. You will notice the handwriting is completely different with 2W because 2W has a smartboard in their classroom. They had no issues writing on this board. It was amazing. And, of course, the activity went much faster because of that. So I'd never put an answer on this one because I never know how the students are going to clap it. Continuing with another lesson, concentration. It's there. This is musical note concentration. Again, you don't have to make any of these. It's right here in the lesson toolkit. So all you have to do is, I think it might be called concentration or it's called matching. And they would just turn over and try to find the match. And if it doesn't match, they turn around. You would just click and drag this right to the screen and then click Edit. I used all the pictures from the My Content, the music pictures. Clicked and dragged them on there to make sure they matched. You can change the pairings to have a lot more pairings or a lot less. And you can actually put a password to it so they can't change things around. Because your smart students are going to start to realize they can just edit it while you're not looking, especially if it's out of station. So put a password on that if you have students who particularly would do that. Crossword. This is for older elementary. You can make a crossword, put it right here. And again, it's just in the lesson activity toolkit. So you can just find the crossword. It's an interactive multimedia file and click and drag it in there. In this one, you pull out the clue. So you have to click on one of the cells first. Pull out the clue because became deaf towards the end of his career. And then you would use the marker. I like to use the marker. And then they would write it. And that didn't show up, but normally it would. Let's try it this way. There we go. So it's Beethoven. What I love is it translates what you wrote and puts it into a normal font. This one, again, you just edit and put a lot of, try the editing again here. The edit would show up and you would actually put in the clues and you would save it and it's done. It generates it for you. You saw the tab. Tomato splat. I love to play musical hangman with my students, especially when they're learning to read and spell by second grade. Second grade, they have spelling tests. So this is a great time for me to use musical hangman. And I really want to reinforce we're only using 7 letters, not the entire alphabet. So this game actually comes in tomato splat or basketball or soccer. And I make words, obviously, that it can only be made with the 7 letters. And even if they need a clue, I put little clues out. So what they do is they would click a letter, and if it misses, you hear the tomato splat, and he smiles. But then he moans. He moans if you hit him. And he makes this sound, and the kids love, love, love hearing him do that. You can even buy a letter, but it's going to give you a miss when you do that. You can divide your students into teams. Come up and do many of these. You're just seeing one slide, but there's, I have another file that has a bunch of things in there. Vortex. The vortex, thank goodness, in version 10, they changed this vortex around. This used to have, these used to swirl. And when they swirled, it was not good for students who had epilepsy. So thank goodness they took away the swirls. That was not good at all. The vortex is really nice because you can do a great assessment of, I do it obviously, for instruments. So if you're correct, it just gets sucked into the vortex. If you're incorrect, the vortex spits it out. Kids like that a lot. Again, you can create it, and then all you have to do is label it, which one is which. So as long as you're doing it correctly, the vortex will work beautifully in your classroom. Again, the vortex is in the lesson toolkit. I always like to incorporate Spanish when I can, and there are Spanish dice. So if I roll this dice, she will give Spanish numbers. I hope you can hear this now. And, of course, I had to go to the Spanish teacher to get the directions written in Spanish. And then they would just clap that rhythm. Simple, simple, simple lesson, but so effective. The flashlight. You can do this in two ways. You could do it the hard way, which is the way I did it, which is taking a shape and finding this flashlight on the Internet, grouping these together, turning the background black, and then you just look around and try to find the note that the teacher assigned you to find. There's another way you can do this. By taking this nice toolbar that's always on the side here, I can take the spotlight like this, and I can make the spotlight small. I can move it around, but I can also make it small. I can make it big, and then the spotlight moves around. My problem with the spotlight is it's very easy to use right here on my laptop. It is not easy to use on the smartboard, especially with the younger kids. So I tend to go with the flashlight. It's much easier. Talking about this little toolbar over here, there's a lot of things that this toolbar uses beautifully. If you are not in Notebook, if you are, let's say, on the Internet here, and you need to highlight things, you can use these tools to start highlighting things. So, for example, I can take that little highlighter and start highlighting things that are on the page. Let's try it again. Unfortunately, right now it's trying to save things I'm trying to do. Okay, we're going to try one more time to see if it will work. Yeah, unfortunately, it keeps just giving me this screen that's just trying to save. What this has done, and it has done it very well, is it has taken things and highlighted them. But it's not doing it right now because that's just the normal Internet. But these tools here are great to be used actually outside the Notebook software. Unfortunately, it's just not going the way I would like it to work right now. Finding things on the Internet are wonderful. I didn't make this lesson. I went to exchange.smarttech.com. You'll see my links in a few minutes. And they have these up there. You go into the search, and I looked for music and elementary, and I found loose tube chant, which I use all the time, so I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I love that it gave me the objectives. I love it gave me the teacher's notes, and I love that it gave me lesson notes. I can go in here and use this as we use the loose tube chant. And if you're ORS trained like I am, you love these rectangles, circle, triangles, as they are actually movement activities, and then you transfer that over into instrument activities. It's great. And then, of course, it shows the rhythm also. Another one that I found right there at another another website with interactive whiteboard files is Bow Wow Wow, another one that I use. So what I love about this, they use the infant clone. Bow wow wow, whose dog art thou? Little Tommy Tucker's dog, bow wow wow. I know, how many of your presenters sang today to you? Anyways, you can just put this right there. And I love this one. It makes the whole rhythm. They have to figure out the rhythm, and they click and drag it into the right spot and see if the song sounds correct. Again, I didn't have to make that. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I just found that on a website that says, download these. This next one was made by Allison Friedman. I have to give her so much credit for this lesson, and a lot of her lessons are amazing like this. I don't know how much time she has to put into these lessons, or she just does this so easily. This is amazing. This is the Instruments of the Orchestra